The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.
Tonight on The Agenda.
Businesses don't have 50% margins, so the only way they can sell on Amazon is to jack their prices up. But then they go and they jack their prices up at Canadian Tire, Target, and everywhere else because of that most favored nation deal, which means that wherever you shop, you pay more.
Then, later tonight.
Journalism is not going to survive if the incentive structure for distribution of content are lies. So the question is more to our audience. Can you live in a world where lies are what you are going to get?
It has never been easy to make a living as a writer, musician, or artist. And while technology now makes it possible to find global audiences for all manner of creatives, that's a mixed blessing at best, according to a new book co-authored by Cory Doctorow. It's called Choke Point Capitalism: How Big Tech and Big Content Captured Creative Labor Markets and How We'll Win Them Back. He's also the author of a just-released novel called Red Team Blues. And here's Cory Doctorow back in our studio tonight. Great to see you again.
Nice to see you too, Steve.
Is it kind of okay to come back to your hometown?
I love coming back to Toronto, although, you know, I've had this fast-forward vision of it for the last 25 years, so I only get it like in these flashbulb moments. And it does have that weird dream logic of like being home, but all the furniture is in the wrong place.
Right on.
Yeah.
You feel at home in California?
You will never feel as at home as you do in the city you grew up in.
Okay.
It's home, but it's not home the way Toronto will be. And I don't think any place ever will be.
Good.
Yeah.
Let's start with a nice tight question. Culture, you say, has been captured. How so?
Yeah, so my co-author Rebecca Giblin and I, we set out to investigate this question. How is it that copyright now lasts longer, covers more works, has stiffer penalties? Those penalties are easier to get. The entertainment industry is larger and more profitable than it's ever been, and the share of money going to creators is lower than it's ever been, and it's been in decline for 40 years and continues to get lower. And our conclusion was that because the way that we expect creators to wring a living from the intermediaries that bring our work to market, be they TV networks or publishers or what have you, is through copyright, a right they bargain away. And since we bargain with 5 publishers, 4 studios, 3 labels, 2 ad tech companies, and 1 company that controls all the ebooks and all the audiobooks in the world, that adding more copyright doesn't help for the same reason that like giving your bullied kid extra lunch money won't help. There isn't an amount of copyright that you give to creators that will leave enough behind when they enter into these lopsided negotiations for them to earn a living off of. And indeed, if we're just transferring these rights to large monopolized firms, then it cements their dominance and makes them harder to bargain with. And so we devote this book to figuring out how to unrig these markets.
Has it not ever been thus?
No, it really hasn't. You know, 40 years ago, we took this decision as a society all around the world in the kind of Reagan, Mulroney, Thatcher era to change the way we enforce competition law and to say that so long as prices are going down, any kind of merger, any kind of predatory conduct is permissible. And another way of saying prices are going down is saying suppliers are being paid less. That's one of the ways that you can bring prices down. And so what we've seen is this orgy of mergers that produced a kind of durable dominance for these extremely large firms that can really put the squeeze on their suppliers. And, you know, the creators are among those suppliers who are feeling the squeeze. We're not the only ones, obviously. There's nurses and there's farmers and there's all kinds of people who feed into these choke-pointed markets where there's one giant firm that sits at the neck of a very tightly controlled market with buyers on one side and sellers on the other, and them just reaping the rewards in the middle. But, you know, creators are especially vulnerable in part because we would do it even if you didn't pay us. It makes us pretty easy to exploit. And also because there are so many people who want to do it. And so there's always someone that you can bring in to replace a creator who demands too much.
So the model that you just described is the choke point capitalism you decry.
Yeah, it's the hourglass-shaped market with customers locked in on one side, creators locked in on the other, and the firm in the middle extracting as much as they can, making things worse for both sides.
I will play devil's advocate here and say, yes, but hasn't Amazon enabled people to get their wares into far more places than they might otherwise have done so, and sold more than they might otherwise have done so as well.
Oh, absolutely. I think that part's fine. And, you know, this is a kind of sleight of hand that lots of people who are doing bad things like to play. They say, well, what if, or they say like, well, you don't like the fact that Amazon has drivers who have to relieve themselves in bottles behind the wheel, and that it maims all these workers in the warehouse, and that it exploits all of its suppliers and is ruining Main Street. But you do like getting your deliveries cheaply, and you do like having all this convenience of having many items. And it's as though you couldn't have one without the other, right? Like people say, oh, you like searching the web, but you don't like being spied on. I just don't think that a bearded prophet came down off a mountain with 2 stone tablets and said, Larry, Sergey, stop rotating your log files and start mining them for actionable market intelligence, right? It is entirely possible to imagine a world in which Amazon drivers are fairly compensated. No one dies in an Amazon warehouse. Suppliers get a fair share of the deal, and we can search the web and find the things that we want without being spied on, all without maybe producing the surpluses that allow Jeff Bezos to buy a comical penis rocket.
What? I never thought of it that way before, but would stuff be as cheap if we did all the things you just listed?
Well, I guess it depends on whether you care about what the price is or how much you can afford is. Because if the price goes down but your wages go down too, then the price isn't the most important thing. And what we've seen is a steady erosion of the buying power of working people as we've been chasing lower prices, because of course lower prices come from suppressing wages. And so while there's a small number of people who are better off because they reaped the rewards of suppressed wages, the actual people who work for a living, that is to say the people who depend on wages, have not seen their buying power go up. They've seen their buying power stay static or decline. And we've seen a lot of debt-fueled growth, which is now reaching a crisis point. I just, again, think that we could have more stuff, better stuff, without having to endure this kind of agony that has been visited upon working people of all kinds.
It's interesting that 100 years ago, Henry Ford understood that he had to pay a good wage to the people who made his cars, enough for them to be able to afford to buy one, or else he understood that he had a problem. We don't seem to know that anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's neoliberalism in a nutshell, right? It's this idea that we can chase global markets for labor and for consumers, and that we don't really need to ensure that labor is the consumer anymore. And it was to our great detriment. I mean, I think we have seen a collapse of many of our institutions as a result. And I think that we have also seen a collapse in our resilience. And we saw this during the pandemic when long supply chains stretched and then shattered because we had chased these alleged efficiencies to the ends of the earth.
Let's do a quote here. This is from Choke Point Capitalism, where you write, "Billions in profits flow to companies like Google, Amazon, and Apple every year off the backs of creative workers. We can't understand their dominance without understanding how they came to achieve it." Okay, so let's do that. How has Amazon created choke points for the publishing industry?
Sure. So publishing is actually a really good example of how Amazon did it. So Amazon went to the public with an offer. They said, we will sell you books below cost. We'll offer very deep subsidies. We'll offer free returns. We'll offer subsidized shipping. And people piled in and bought lots of books. This made Amazon into what's called a monopsonist. So monopsony is a closely related idea to monopoly. A monopoly is a powerful seller. A monopsonist is a powerful buyer. The term monopsony is not widely understood because we don't have a family-destroying board game with that name, but it's actually a much more important concept. Monopsony tips, is what economists say when a firm gains market power and can start setting its own prices. A monopsony tips at much lower market concentration than monopoly. There are a lot of consumers who are willing to shop in one place instead of another if the price is better. But there aren't a lot of businesses that can afford to have, say, 10 or 15% of their market disappear overnight. And so once a single buyer controls 15% of a market, then they have an enormous amount of leverage over how goods in that market are priced. So Amazon gained that leverage. They locked in lots of customers. So they sold customers shipping below cost. So if you prepay for a year's shipping, you're not going to shop anywhere else unless you can't get what you want from the company that you've already paid for shipping with.
Yep.
And so Prime customers, 90% of their searches start on Amazon and end on Amazon. So they lock people in with shipping. They lock them in with subscriptions to their electronic books and electronic audiobooks. If you've already bought a book a month, if you've already bought an audiobook every month, you're never going to shop anywhere else. And then they lock them in with technical protection measures. So all of the audiobooks sold on Amazon through their Audible platform, which is the 90% monopolist of audiobooks around the world, and nearly all the ebooks they sell come locked to the platform with something called digital rights management. And ever since James Moore and Tony Clement amended the Canadian Copyright Act, it has been a crime to remove digital rights management, even if no copyright infringement takes place. So this means that if I, as the author, want to give you, my reader, a tool to let you remove the ebook of mine that you bought from the Amazon app and put it in another app so you can break up with Amazon, I commit a crime. In the United States, that crime under Section 1201 of the Digital Millennium Copyright Act is punishable by a 5-year prison sentence and a $500,000 fine, which is a much stiffer sentence than you would get for merely stealing the book. Right? So the author giving you the ability to take your books elsewhere is more criminalized than copyright infringement. So you get the audience locked in. They can't take their books elsewhere. They've prepaid for their books. They've prepaid for their audiobooks. They've prepaid for their shipping. They're habituated to shopping there. The actual bookselling market, brick and mortar bookselling market, is in decline because Amazon's selling below cost. They're using access to the capital markets. So one of the things we used to do is ban predatory pricing, where you sell below cost in order to capture a market. We stopped enforcing that law. Now it's everywhere, right? This is how firms capture markets all the time. It's how Uber blew $32 billion of Saudi royal money capturing the taxi market and so on. And so you get all the customers who now only buy their books on Amazon and only can buy their books on Amazon because their libraries are all locked to Amazon. So any new books they buy elsewhere, they can't keep with the rest of their books, right? Now they go to the publishers and they start demanding unsustainable discounts because that subsidy has to end. So Amazon had a program they called Project Gazelle. It was a program to seek out vulnerable mid-tier publishers. So the mid-sized publishers who brought us all the really interesting stuff that didn't come from what was then the big 6 publishers and now the big 5. And it was called Project Gazelle because the bargaining agents on behalf of Amazon, the project managers, were exhorted to imagine themselves as cheetahs hunting down the sickly gazelle in the pack. The only thing about this that Amazon's lawyers objected to was the name, right? So there were companies that tried to opt out of this. Melville House said, okay, we're just not going to give you this discount because we'll go broke if we do. And they said, fine, we're taking the buy button off of every Melville House title. It was only 10% of Melville House's sales, but they didn't have 10% slack in their market. They had to come back to Amazon and offer those unsustainable discounts and die a slow death instead of a quick one. Now they're part of a big publisher. They had to sell out in order to get there. One of the things about monopolies is it breeds monopoly, right? You can't negotiate as an independent, so you merge to monopoly, merge to monopoly, merge to monopoly. So now we have writers on the one hand who are independents selling direct on Amazon through the Kindle and Audible program. They're getting a really rotten deal. That deal keeps getting worse. There's a scandal called Audiblegate we detail in the book where over $100 million was stolen from Audible independent authors using an accounting trick. You have publishers who become highly concentrated. They're giving unsustainable discounts to Amazon still to this day, but because they've also become highly concentrated, they're putting the squeeze to writers. Right? So there are fewer places that you can sell your books than ever. And so those writers are getting a worse deal as well. And then, prices on Amazon are going up because once they've captured the market, they don't have to keep the prices as low as they used to. One of the ways that gets disguised is Amazon binds its suppliers to something called the most favored nation deal, which means that if you raise your prices on Amazon, you have to raise them everywhere else. Amazon has to be the lowest price you offer or match the lowest price you offer. More than 50 cents of every dollar that Amazon brings in for those independent sellers, Amazon keeps in the form of junk fees, search fees, commissions, fulfillment fees, and so on. Businesses don't have 50% margins. So the only way they can sell on Amazon is to jack their prices up. But then they go and they jack their prices up at Canadian Tire, Target, and everywhere else because of that most favored nation deal, which means that wherever you shop, you pay more because Amazon is squeezing its suppliers in this way. So this is bad for audiences, it's bad for publishers, and it's really bad for creative workers.
And presumably the United States government knows this and could do something about it should they want to. Why don't they?
Well, we have 40 years of bad precedent going the wrong way, but that's shifting. It's shifting in part to some really great Biden appointees. I'm not the world's biggest Biden fan, not because he's not radical enough, or too radical for me, he's not radical enough for me, but his antitrust appointments are without compare in the field. So you have Lena Khan running the Federal Trade Commission, who is really taking big tech firms to the woodshed, as well as big entertainment companies. You have the Department of Justice Antitrust Division run by Jonathan Cantor, who's doing amazing work. And until very recently, you had a Canadian, Tim Wu, running the White House Antitrust Office inside. He was their tech antitrust czar, who conceived of a whole of government approach, where they went through the statutory instruments for each of the departments, what we'd call a ministry here, and found all the different ways that the Agriculture Department, the Transportation Department, and so on could all do their bit to deconsolidate corporate power. And all of them are doing this stuff. They issued a memo in 2020 in July with 72 action items and a timeline for hitting them. They've hit every one of them. So it's going well.
Okay. We did Amazon and what that's doing to authors. How about Spotify and what that does to musicians?
Oh my
Has it
gosh.
created a choke point?
Oh, yeah.
Similarly.
Yeah, Spotify, so it's interesting because, you know, one of the claims that has been made is that tech is exceptional. And one of the ways that people claim tech is exceptional is that it's exceptionally wicked. That unlike the entertainment industry, tech is very bad for creators, where the entertainment industry is very good. This is a very short-sighted and really amnesiac argument. I mean, it's the recording industry that decided that the Beatles would get 1 penny per LP to split 4 ways, minus 15% held back for breakage and promotion, right? That wasn't the tech sector that did that. And so, you know, there are some companies out there that bring music to the public that have extraordinarily bad deals for musicians. One of them is YouTube, which is part of Google. It's the tech sector. But there are others that have equally bad arrangements that are creatures of the entertainment industry, like Spotify. So when Spotify started, it needed to have catalog. It needed to have all the music. Now, 70% of the recorded music is controlled by 3 companies, Sony, Warner, and Universal. They didn't invest in that music. They just gobbled up the companies that did, bought them at fire sale prices in the 90s and 2000s during various financial crises. And so this has given them 70% of the music catalog and 65% of the publishing rights. They're an oligopsony and an oligopoly, but they're monopolists, right? They control the industry. So Spotify goes to the big 3 and they say, what's it going to take to get a license to your catalog? And they go, well, this is very straightforward. You just have to make us your equity partners. We're going to be in business with you. And so now they have an irreconcilable conflict of interest, because every dollar that the record industry takes out of Spotify in the form of a royalty is a dollar that they can't take out in the form of a dividend. And the royalties are monies that they have to split with their creative workforce. And the dividends are theirs to divvy up as they choose to. They could give none of it to the artist, some of it to the artist, some to some artists. No one has a legal claim on it. It's down to their largesse as to who gets this money. And so they immediately negotiate a rock bottom per stream rate for Spotify. We all have heard how low the fees are for Spotify. What we don't hear so often is that Sony, Universal, and Warner insisted on it. And they got most favored nation status. So the 30% of music that they don't control all had to sell to Spotify on the same terms. But they negotiated minimum monthly payments for themselves. So say Warner is entitled to, say, $10 million a month, and say all the streams from Warner played on Spotify this month only add up to $5 million. They still get $10 million. The other $5 million is an unattributable royalty, and again, that's theirs to use as they see fit. So they also bargain to be freely included in playlists. If there's playlists you like, you should know that a substantial fraction of that playlist is payola. It's money people are paying to be included in that. Except the big 3 get included for free. They also got free advertising, free marketing, and so on. On the eve of Spotify's IPO, when they went public and those shares that the record companies were holding blew up, their standard deal expired. They had to negotiate a new deal with Spotify. And in theory, they had Spotify over a barrel, because that IPO would have failed without a deal with the big 3. They didn't bargain for a higher rate. They bargained for a lower rate.
Why would they do that?
Because then the shares would be worth more on the eve of the IPO. And so they got more billions from bargaining for a lower rate. And because of most favored nation, the other 30% of music that the big 3 don't control also took a haircut on the eve of the IPO, but they didn't have any shares. So that's how Spotify rigged the music market. And the fact that this is not substantially worse, although it has different contours to YouTube, tells you that it actually doesn't matter whether it's the tech sector or the entertainment sector. You know, we sometimes say if you're not paying for the product, you're the product, and then people buy like an iPhone and they discover they can't get it fixed at the shop they want. They have to pay Apple over the odds to get it fixed, and they realize they're still the product. You don't bribe companies into treating you as a product. Companies have to be terrified into treating you as not the product by competition and regulation. Those are the two things that regulate and discipline their conduct towards you. Giving them money will not conjure up the respect that you're due. And, you know, by the same token, it doesn't matter if the person who runs the firm that mediates between audiences and creators, runs that choke point, identifies as an entertainment executive or a tech executive. They're going to squeeze you for all they think they can get.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, you're going to have to explain to me why we would be under any impression at all that things will ever change, because writers have to write.
Yeah.
Musicians have to write and sing music. You know, every movie maker's got to make movies.
Yeah.
If you look at where the strengths and weaknesses of this system are,
Sure.
you got to do what you got to do.
So you're describing something called vocational awe. And it's something that afflicts not just creators, but also nurses, doctors, teachers, people who take care of little kids, people who take care of the elderly. And it does make us uniquely exploitable. And yet, we have seen in Ontario very recently how nurses and teachers can come together to resist that kind of control. And where I live now in Burbank, California, every street has got a picket line on it because the writers are on strike.
Yep.
And they're about to be joined by the directors and the actors. So the second half of the book, I have to say, the first half of the book just unwinds these accounting scams. There's actually a technical term for it from finance, MIGO, my eyes glaze over. It's when you make these Baroque scams that are just like, you're supposed to bounce off of them. So we unwind them, you know, pick them apart, show you that there's nothing in the middle of them except a fraud. But the second half of the book addresses itself to solutions. And it's important to note that because we hear from lots of readers who, by the time they get to the end of the first half of the book, they're hearing this alarming high-pitched sound that they think is like an incipient rage aneurysm, and they want to put the book down. But the second half of the book is like what we can do. And look, anything that can't go on forever eventually stops, right? And as we lurch from crisis to crisis in the entertainment industry, which is full of things that can't go on forever, because we don't have any good ideas lying around, we just grab onto the same bad ideas and try them harder. Maybe if we just make copyright last longer, cover more kinds of works, have stiffer penalties, we will eventually figure out how to solve this problem. And all we're doing is making these 3 labels, 4 studios, 5 publishers, 2 ad tech companies more strong, right? So instead, we address ourselves to really practical things, shovel-ready ideas that can be enacted as law, as antitrust remedies. So these companies are racking up all kinds of offenses that will someday come to a potential settlement, right? Where these firms will say, I don't want to risk what just happened to Facebook in Europe, a 1.2 billion euro fine. I'd like a settlement. What conduct remedies can I adopt that would get me shut of this action? We're devising those as well. And I can give you an example of one if you'd like. So everyone who signs a contract that generates a royalty, is typically that contract allows them to audit the royalty statements. And when you audit those royalty statements, you often find discrepancies. And for reasons we can't possibly hazard a guess at, those discrepancies are almost always in the favor of the publisher, the label, or the studio.
I'm shocked.
And not the creator. We actually cite one company in LA that does tens of thousands of record label audits. They've done it for decades. In every instance except one, the errors that they found were in the favor of the label and not the artist. I assume this is some kind of very vexing, localized probability storm that just makes things very hard for the CPAs of the labels, and they have my sympathy. So when you say, hey, you stole my money, I'd like it back, they say, you're mistaken. Artists are adorable, but you can't do math. We don't owe you anything, and you can't afford to sue us, but tell you what, we're such good-natured slobs. How about we give you 50 cents on the dollar, and all you need to do is sign this non-disclosure agreement. So you can't tell anyone else how we hid the money we stole from you and how we might be hiding the money that they stole from them.
So they still make 50 cents on the dollar they weren't entitled to.
And nobody finds out about it.
And no one finds out.
No one finds out about it. So those non-disclosures are very vexatious. And the non-disclosure usually also comes with the requirement that the accountant who did the audit never audit that label again, right? Like, this is like telling the forensic specialist, dig anywhere you'd like in my garden, fellas, but not that corner. I'm very sentimental about it. Let me know if you find my wife, though, right? So Contract law is a matter of state law. And all of these contracts are settled in 4 states, New York and California, obviously, Washington State, where the game studios and Amazon are, and Tennessee, where Nashville is. If we were to amend one or more of those state laws, and amending state law is easier than federal law regulation, to say that as a matter of public policy, non-disclosure can't be enforced where it pertains to material omissions or misstatements in royalty statements that harmed someone due a creative wage, then at the stroke of a pen, we put more money in the pockets of more artists than 40 years of copyright term extensions combined, right? This is a crack in the machine. You stick a lever in it, you wiggle it around, money pours out of it into artists' pockets.
Can it be done?
Absolutely, right? Because there are scandals about this all the time. Well, so the next time there's a scandal about this, instead of merely extracting a fine from these companies, why don't we use it as the political opportunity to amend state law?
Who's the we? Who has to make it happen?
Well, the people who get angry when artists get screwed. I mean, think about what's happening with AI right now. People are very rightfully worried that our bosses want to fire our asses and replace us with software, right? They have motive, means, and opportunity to do it. There are a lot of proposals for what to do with it. I think that the one where we give people the right to decide who can study their work is probably not going to work out for us. I think it's going to be like when we gave artists the right to control who could sample them, and immediately the label said, fine, to sign up with us, you have to give us your sampling rights. And now if you want to sample, you pay a label, the label keeps the money, no other artist gets it, and you, the artist who's sampling, is poorer, everyone's worse off. It's probably not the answer we want, but there are other possible answers. And right now, it seems pretty likely that something's going to happen about so-called AI. It's not artificial, it's not intelligent, but something is going to happen because there is a real public sentiment among creators and among their audiences that this is inequitable.
And among the purveyors of AI. I mean, even Jeffrey Hinton is out there saying he's never been more afraid.
But those guys are saying, look at how powerful this product that I made is. My God, I'm terrified. The last thing that I wanted to do was make a product so powerful and valuable. Did I mention it's valuable? And, you know, I wouldn't want you to think that it wasn't a very powerful, very valuable.
You're so cynical. I take him at his word on this.
I just think that, you know, when you hear these people saying, like, I am an evil sorcerer, I think that, like, the important part for them is the sorcerer part. And for so long as we're convinced that they're evil sorcerers and not snake oil hucksters, they're happy. It doesn't actually matter to them if we think they're evil or not.
Okay. Let's, in our last couple of minutes here, talk about your new novel, Red Team Blues.
Sure.
Okay. Where does that pick up from where the story of choke point capitalism leaves off?
Yeah, so Red Team Blues, it's the story of a 67-year-old high-tech forensic accountant, Marty Hench, who's been in Silicon Valley for 40 years, unwinding every weird scam that tech could think up. So there's a very intimate relationship with the work that we do in the first half of Choke Point Capitalism, unwinding these scams. And his standard deal is he solves your mystery, he doesn't take any money up front, but he gets 25% of whatever he recovers. He's lucked into a luxury tour bus from a rock star he bailed out. It's got marble countertops, it's 33 feet long, and he drives it from the Baja up to Oregon and back again, taking retirement on the installment plan, and he's about ready to quit. And then one of his old dear friends, a cryptographer from the days when crypto meant cryptography and not cryptocurrency, gets in touch with him and says, I have unwisely created a cryptocurrency, and even more unwisely, I put a backdoor in it because I didn't want things to go very badly. And now the keys that control the backdoor have gone missing, and the money launderers who've been using my blockchain, if they find out about this and if they lose everything, they're coming for me and they're gonna do very bad things to me. And so Marty has one last job. He has to recover these keys. And so it's a very tightly plotted heist novel. You know, I gave it to my wife and I rolled over in bed that night and she was sitting bolt upright at 2:30 in the morning. I said, what are you doing? She said, I had to find out how it ended. Then I mailed it to my editor, and the next day I got a 4-line email that just said, that was a effing ride, whoa. And he bought 3 more of them. So it's, you know, people, the advice seems to be don't start it before bed. But what it really is, in addition to being this kind of cracking yarn and a mystery and a heist novel, is a book about how finance curdled the hope that tech would someday be a force for human liberation instead of control, surveillance, and exploitation. And about how someone who's been there for 40 years, really on the front lines of that battle, confronts the terrible losses that he's experienced and that the tech sector has experienced as finance has done more and more to strip mine tech of its potential for good and just turn it into this thing that is really a force for evil in the world, and whether or not it can ever be taken back.
We are happy to remind people, Red Team Blues is the novel, and Choke Point Capitalism, how big tech and big content captured creative labor markets, and how we'll win them back. Corey, always good to see you here in our studio. Thank you.
Nice to see you too, Steve. Thank you.
She was once a great believer in the promise of social media. She is all too aware of how authoritarian politicians, including in her home country, the Philippines, harness technology to sow hate, fear, and disinformation that can ultimately undermine democracy. Nobel Peace Prize laureate Maria Ressa is co-founder and CEO of the online news platform Rappler. And her new book, How to Stand Up to a Dictator, The Fight for Our Future, offers sage insights for all of us. And Maria Ressa joins us now here in our studio. It is such a pleasure to meet you. I've seen you speak many times in the past, but what a pleasure to have you here in our studio.
Thank you for having me.
I'm going to start with a map here. You know this all too well. This is the state of democracy today in the world. This is a new report from the independent Varieties of Democracy Institute. That's out of the University of Gothenburg in Sweden. And it shows 72% of the world's population, that's 5.7 billion people, now live under autocracies. And that is a 46% increase from just a decade ago. The worst decline is happening in the Asia-Pacific region, where it's reached 1978 levels. In other words, more than 35 years of global democratic advances have been erased in the last decade. Maria Ressa, what is killing democracy in your view?
Well, I mean, for me, the fire that set the kindling on fire is technology. And the after technology platforms took over the distribution of information, of news, we saw an overemphasis on profit at all costs. There was an abdication of responsibility of the public sphere. That kind of advertising marketing system, which was the way it was originally set up, was exploited by geopolitical power. We are electing illiberal leaders, democracy globally. If we don't take the right steps forward, if we don't fix the corruption of our information ecosystem, this is going to continue accelerating. And really, D-Day is 2024.
Because?
Because between now and then, there will be 90 elections globally, right? We don't have integrity of facts. A 2018 MIT study said that lies spread 6 times faster than facts on social media. You know, you add fear, anger, hate, and you will spread even faster. That's the incentive structure. So the incentive structure is upside down. The new gatekeepers have said, lie, I'll reward you. Keep lying, I'll keep rewarding you. What kind of, if you were doing that to a child, what kind of adult does that person become? Well, now we're in the upside down. And while everything is deceptively familiar, the incentive structure rewards the lies, rewards hate. This is part of what has led to 72% of the world under authoritarian rule.
This is not a new phenomenon, though, because I can't remember who said it, but there's this famous quote about a lie can get all the way around the world before the truth has a chance to put its pants on.
Yeah.
So what's different? Social media has made it different in what way?
The pace.
The speed.
It's exponential. Yeah. It's the pace and the quantity. Right? So big data, just moving to big data from an Excel sheet to big data. And I think we don't quite fathom that, right? Big data allows, for example, in my case, 90 hate messages per hour to pound me to silence. Information has not just been corrupted, it's been weaponized. And for those free speech advocates, we are free speech advocates, but we are also gatekeepers with a set of standards and ethics. Without these, when information is weaponized, when it's used to take your narrative out and replace it, it's how democracy begins to die and has died.
That word gatekeepers has become a bit of a swear word in Canada, I have to say. The leader of the Conservative Party of Canada today uses it very effectively, I should add, as a pejorative thing. He says, enough of the gatekeepers. You gatekeepers are the people who are keeping too many Canadians down, and not everybody's getting a chance to participate in democracy adequately because of that. Does he have a point?
No. No, because look, there's something, regardless of whatever opinion you have, there's a set of facts. And what's happened is when lies spread faster than facts, there are no facts. You say a lie a million times, it becomes a fact, right? So the three sentences I've said over and over since including in the Nobel lectures, without facts, you can't have truth. Without truth, you can't have trust. Without these three, we have no shared reality. We can't begin to solve a problem. We can't have a conversation. You can't deal with climate change. You cannot have democracy. Why are gatekeepers important? Because when we were in charge, news organizations were in charge of the public sphere, you were legally liable for that. We were governed by a set of standards and ethics that our public can see, that our public can hold us accountable. When tech took over that role, they took the money, they took the business model, but at the same time, they abdicated responsibility for protecting us. The Cambridge Analytica whistleblower, Chris Wiley, actually pointed out that the toaster in your home has more regulations governing it than this.
This device that you're carrying.
Which is
yes.
actually manipulating your emotions, ultimately your mind, ultimately your vote.
Well, let's talk about your home country, because we have often heard social media disinformation. Essentially, the Philippines is like the canary in the coal mine when it comes to that. Explain what that looks like to you.
It's really interesting. Part of it is we were first adapters to the tech, right? I mean, look, I drank the Kool-Aid in 2011 when I saw the Arab Spring. We set up Rappler in 2012. I thought technology could help jumpstart development. But by 2014, so it was only a year or so, Arab Spring became the Arab Winter. And we continued to grow, but we couldn't have fathomed what happened in 2016. So the two biggest stories of my career have been attacks against America tested in the Philippines, attacks against the West. The first was in 1995 when these terrorists came in. They had a plot to hijack planes and crash them into buildings. And when 9/11 happened, I remembered the interrogation report I had from probably the first pilot recruited by Al-Qaeda. He was then in a prison, a high-security prison in the United States. They talked about, this is in a 1995 interrogation document that I had, plot to hijack planes and crash them into buildings, and named the targets. The World Trade Center, the Transamerica building, the Pentagon. There were other things there, right? The second time is the information warfare that has now become molecular at a democracy level, that is targeting individuals in a democracy. We began to see it in 2016. I was shocked that it could be used this way, but Russian disinformation, the former KGB chair, Yuri Andropov, said that disinformatia is like cocaine. You take it once or twice, you're okay. But if you take it all the time, you become a changed person. We are changed people. And the enabler for the rise of autocracy, as you've seen in that map, the enabler is technology, the social media. We are electing these illiberal leaders democratically, and they are crushing institutions from within their own countries, but they're not staying in their countries. They're also allying with each other in new global alliances like Belarus and Russia.
Okay, let me give the flip side just for the heck of it, which is to say, Black Lives Matter, the Arab Spring, the democratization efforts happening in Iran could not happen without a vibrant social media sphere. Is that fair to say as well?
Fair to say, but Black Lives Matter, these very same things were weaponized. So what did Russian disinformation do in the United States? Identity politics. They hit both sides of Black Lives Matter. And, I feel sorry for anyone in government today trying to lead, because these fissures have been split wide open, and we don't listen anymore. Right? In a world that is extremely nuanced, where we need to take surgical moves, how do you do this when your population is being insidiously manipulated?
So Duterte in your country was really one of the masters at doing this, right? He was one of the best. What other illiberal leaders do you look at around the world today and say they're using the same playbook?
Well, I'll say, what we've seen in the Philippines is that the Duterte and Marcos disinformation networks were working together. And part of the reason you have a Marcos Jr. today, the only son and namesake back in power, wins overwhelmingly on the vote, is because disinformation began in 2014, not coincidentally, the same time that the meta-narrative for the annexation of Crimea that was later used by Putin to actually invade Ukraine itself. This is when they were all seeded, right? You seed a meta-narrative. That's when our history began to change in front of our eyes. So back to the Philippines. Look, I think that part of what we're struggling with is we had weak institutions, endemic corruption, and what we saw with social media was, you know, in the book I talk about how the recommendation engine of Facebook splintered our reality. You would, in the West, you call it echo chambers, but you know, in 2016 when Duterte was elected, and he's not the mastermind of this, right? These are people around him, but if you were pro-Duterte, you move further right. If you were anti-Duterte, you move further left. And that is because the recommendation engine was using friends of friends. They were recommending friends of friends. So that divides, and then the recommendation engine for content polarizes. I did a lot of the terrorism, the radicalization. It takes 2 weeks. So when you're fed this stuff, it moves quickly.
The center cannot hold.
Yates, yes.
As the expression goes. Okay, you know, Facebook. I do want to talk to you about Facebook because I know you're not a fan. You've called it one of the gravest threats to our democracy. And yet, I suspect when a lot of people think about Facebook, they're thinking about pictures of cats and family and all of this kind of thing, and they're wondering, Maria, how can this be such a grave threat to our democracy?
I think you'll see that would have changed, right? Most people started getting off because it's of something I call the toxic sludge, right? What gets you the widest distribution? And it's not just Facebook. I'll look at YouTube and the clustering algorithms that recommend content to you. A recent study actually showed that Jair Bolsonaro was a far-right fringe figure, but the clustering algorithm that put his supporters together with every conspiracy theories created a support group that in the real world would never have met, but that buoyed him to the presidency and ultimately led to the violence that was January 8. Clustering algorithms, right? So, Facebook, I think more and more people are beginning to understand the problem. Because let me be optimistic, because I sound so negative on this. The good thing is that technology has shown us that people all over the world, regardless of language, culture, or nations, are fundamentally the same.
They want the same things in life.
And we're being manipulated by the same technology. I mean, literally, right? Our biology has been used against us to change the way we think and ultimately the way we act. If you don't have integrity of facts, you cannot have integrity of the vote. This is why the cascading failures go to how we are governed, go to the structures we set up in the real world.
Do you take any satisfaction from the news that Zuckerberg has just laid off tens of thousands of people at his company and that fewer people may be on Facebook today as a result?
I would love for him to be enlightened. Him, Elon Musk, any of the big tech CEOs to actually say, we see the damage that's being done. We're going to be reliable gatekeepers. We're going to make these difficult decisions. The decisions you and I make as a journalist, because you are accountable. And we're accountable to the public, and we want to help democracy grow, right? So, no, they're going through what we have gone through. But that doesn't mean a solution will be found. We need to stop the corruption. We need to stop the lies. Otherwise, I think I talk about the information ecosystem as a river. It's polluted. It's polluted with lies. If you're on any social media platform, everything you post is pulled together by machine learning to create a model of you that knows you better than you know yourself, has all your relationships, right? Then AI comes in and takes all of our models, and this is the motherlode database. That's upstream. Change the word model and use the word clone, right? So this is our clone, our weaknesses sold to the highest bidder. That's what micro-targeting is. And then what we're doing is we're saying, for the people who think content moderation, let me take some of this polluted water, you drop the pill to clean up the water, and then you throw it back in. It's gonna take us a while, but we need to stop the factory of lies.
Are you as concerned about TikTok, which, of course, increasing numbers of Western governments are, we work for the province of Ontario. We were told to take it off. We can't have TikTok on here anymore. You got it on yours anymore?
I never was on it.
You never put it on?
Because if Facebook is a blunt mallet, TikTok is a surgical probe. The less options you have, the less choice you have, and you just keep scrolling, the more control this has on you. So, and of course then the link to, can a private company in China actually say no to the Chinese government?
A wonderful question, a great question. I want to talk to you about trust. And you talked about gatekeepers, and the sad reality is, while you and I both think that we do work that is important and require, we would like the public to buy in, and we think that what we do is empirically based and in fact, and is worthy of trust. I'm looking at numbers in Canada here. This is a 2022 Reuters report. Trust in Canadian media has dropped 13% in the last 7 years. It now is at just 42%. 42%. How much of that loss of trust is because we're just not very good anymore at what we should be doing?
No, I think that's still pretty solid compared to the rest of the world, right? So Canada, hold the line, but part of that is why? Because your penetration rate for social media is now at 87%, right? Look, you said, we should get rid of the gatekeepers. Let's get rid of traffic lights.
I didn't say we should.
Yeah, I know, the Prime Minister.
I'm not the guy who wants to be Prime Minister.
Who wants to be Prime
He's the opposition leader right now.
Oh my gosh. Oh, he's a populist.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes, because social media helps him.
Yes.
Right?
And he's very good on it.
And again, what are the incentive structures of social media? You go right back to this, right? So the question that I have is, if you take away all the traffic lights, what happens?
Chaos.
Accidents, chaos. These laws are in place. Facts are there to anchor us. But if you don't have facts, you cannot have rule of law, right? So I guess, I live in a country where populists won. And we had, the reason I wrote the book is because you can replace dictator with bully. We live in a world where rule of law should be stopping the bully, should be protecting the weak, the silent, should have the checks and balances against the dictator, right?
So what does a more trustworthy journalism look like in this era where you're fighting lies 24/7?
So again, I think this is really given everything else that's there, right? So the first thing is the distribution on social media, since you're now up at 87%. That incentive structure actually commodifies news and incentivizes really bad journalism, right? If you're doing investigative journalism, in-depth conversations that you have, you're not going to get the widest distribution on social media. That's the first thing, right? So what will reach people? Kind of like crappy things, So that's the first. And then the other part is, what else will reach people? Things that make them, it's an outrage economy. We have standards and ethics. We do not insidiously manipulate it. We have a profession that, if you're doing television, you learn to tell the story. It's the micro, macro. We spend our careers doing that, but we're not going to lie to you. We're not going to manipulate you in the way some do and are allowed to do on social media.
We're not going to lie to you, but you can't help but watch cable television in the United States, and thankfully we don't have it here in Canada. We have pretty straight-ahead cable television channels here. Still, yes. Fox News is just in a different business from the rest of us. I think that's fair to say. But MSNBC has its days where it looks like it's in the tank for the Democratic Party. Where's the way out of all of this? It just looks like a respect for empirically provable facts is not that important to too many people anymore.
No, I think these are cascading failures of that first incentive structure that was turned upside down. If you spread lies faster than facts, then journalists have no recourse here, right? And I know this because this social media was used to attack me and Rappler. Yeah. It is both a curse and a blessing that I was getting 90 hate messages per hour.
What's the blessing?
The blessing is I saw all the data. And I began to look at it as data, not as content. And I stood on firm ground when I realized that this was meant to pound me to silence. It was replacing a meta-narrative of journalists as gatekeepers with journalists are criminals, right? You could see this. You could see this in the data. So I think that's the first step. But look, journalism is not going to survive if the incentive structure for distribution of content are lies. So the question is more to our audience. Can you live in a world where lies are what you're going to get?
So we have to put it back on the public.
I think we need to keep doing what we're doing, right? We need to keep holding the line, and that means there are greater sacrifices. These same technology companies have crumbled our business model. Advertising is dead. Because who would advertise for print or TV where you see it one time versus micro-targeting at a molecular level, right? The ROIs are far better on technology, cheaper as well. But you are killing the group that has been set up to try to hold power to account.
So we do have to say to members of the public, you are in this with us. You are partially responsible as well.
Not just partially.
You're very much responsible.
Yes,
you got to make
absolutely.
better. You got to make good choices.
Well, the other part is that our journalism is not only commodified; it is also what's the right way to phrase this? When you cater to the lowest common denominator, when I talk about this in the Nobel lectures, toxic sludge. When popularity becomes mob rule. This is where social media is, right? So we weather the attacks online. We've been attacked by information operations. Journalists are the first attacked in almost every country you look at. You ask me where I look at Brazil. I look at Turkey. I look at Hungary. I look at India. I look at the United States. You know, there was a period of time when the Philippines was far more civilized than the United States. This is leading up to their midterm elections, right? The division. Why? You are targeted. You have New Zealand. I look at the Five Eyes, you know what we used to call the Five Eyes. You are. And women are attacked. In 2017 in the Philippines, we had the data for this. Women are attacked at least 10 times more than because the goal is to take you out at the molecular level, at the individual level. And these tech companies are enabling this geopolitical manipulation at scale.
Generally on this program, we don't ask personal questions. We keep it all very much on the content. But you're Maria Ressa, and you're a big deal, and I can't have you in that chair without asking you how you are attempting to deal with the notion that you've got trumped up charges against you back in the Philippines, and can you go home again and be safe? What do you think?
All of these attacks began in 2016, right? So it's been many years, and there was a period of time when my lawyers thought I was foolish, and I kept going back. I mean, I've had, look, I feel like, you know, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're in Silicon Valley, you know that 99% of startups fail.
Yep.
That 1% has to go through the valley of death. I feel like Philippine democracy has gone through the valley of death, despite the fact that we have a Marcos back as president, right? And in my case, holding the line, doing the right thing has been the right thing, because I've watched the charges against me go from, 14 investigations in 2017, 10 arrest warrants in 2019, a little bit over. It went from 103 years in prison to just last January, I had 4 criminal tax evasion charges thrown out. Both Rappler and I were acquitted. It took 4 years and 2 months, but that decision actually said, these cases should never even have made it to court. But 4 years and 2 months, but, we're coming out of it.
You're coming out of it, but you still face a lifetime in jail.
And I actually have to go all the way to the Supreme Court to ask for permission to travel, to be here. It's no longer a lifetime. Now we're down to maybe a decade.
You're laughing about
from
it.
It's
That's
kind of
progress?
like, it's a little bit like gallows humor, It is what it is. It's like pollution. God, it's like climate change. We have to do something about it. And I am. You know what? I'm talking to you about why you need to jump in. Sorry, the last thing you kind of asked this, but journalists, news organizations are not powerful enough to do this on our own. And in 2021, the Nobel prize was given to journalists. But in 2022, it was given to civil society. So anyone watching, I come to you, it's not out there. The war in Ukraine seems like it's far away from you. You could say, we're okay here in Canada. You're not okay. The war is here, in your phone, in your pocket. In the Nobel lecture, I talked about an individual battle for integrity, an individual battle for facts. We must win this, each of us. And that mesh is how we win the war.
You do put a provocative question out there, though, which is what are you prepared to do, and how much are you prepared to do to safeguard your democracy? That is a really tough question. I know there are people all over the world who are prepared to give their lives for it. I think most people aren't. Most people just want to get through the day, right? How do we answer that question?
This is why I'm jumping up and down, kind of, right? Like, please, please, please understand this moment is different. There are surveys that say you don't want to watch the news at all because coming out of COVID, you want good news. This is the world we live in. And this moment, if you do not jump in and help, we could lose everything. I've covered Southeast Asia, and I've been both in the Philippines after 1986, the fall of Marcos, almost 21 years, and then in 1998, the fall of Suharto after almost 32 years in power. There is a nostalgia for strongman rule in my countries. India has the same. And you want someone else to make those decisions for you, these populist leaders. But understand that democracy is difficult. And this is now calling for your help. If you want the populist, ask the questions. You will ask the questions. How will they solve these problems? Look at it, because if we don't jump in, we look at the end of democracy. And, between now and 2024, there will be 90 elections globally. And 2024 is a tipping point. It will either, 3 major elections will push us off the cliff, democracy will die, or it'll crumble slowly. The death by 1,000 cuts continues.
Can we say, let's hope the pendulum starts swinging back towards democracy? Let's hope for that.
Not just hope, please
let's
work
for
it.
Gotcha. How to Stand Up to a Dictator, The Fight for Our Future is Maria Ressa's latest, and we recommend it wholeheartedly. Thank you so much for coming into TVO tonight and sharing your time with us. It's a great honor to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Tomorrow on the agenda.
Oh, if the things don't work out the way I want them to do, I need to have a backup plan. That is called defensive pessimism, and that concept is very adaptive. And that certainly plays a role in the depressive states that I study.
That's tomorrow on the agenda.